Everybody, I'm Lex.
I'm Jordan with PDQ.com.
We are going to be taking you through 5-ish, and the reason it's 5-ish is because they said, how many are you going to do? I'm like, I don't know, 4, 5, 6, something like that.
And
so it's 5-ish.
We'll probably discover some extras and questions as well.
Actually, we might. Hey, so we're going to take you through some hardware software audits. We're going to add a few things to make it hopefully a little easier for you guys to get the information you need or to make some smarter decisions. So let's jump in and talk hardware refresh, yeah?
Absolutely.
Okay, so first thing.
Windows 7 is coming up on end of life.
When's that happening?
I'm going to look at my sheet.
That is January 14th,
2020.
2020. So I know we're good at hardware refresh, but 2 weeks, really? Let's get it in the budget in 19, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So with that, let's go take a look at our Windows 7 machines. So first of all, I'm going to build a report. And when I say build one, I've already built it. So we're going to go to Windows Hardware Refresh. And I'm going to hit Define a Report. Now, here's the thing about this report. And it's super simple to build. Basically, we went into the computer table and we grabbed the name, the OS name, the version name, that kind of stuff. But the thing that's kind of important is, do we need to buy new hardware or can we, just upgrade the OS? Because if you save some money, you can get yourself a really, really good machine and, just get OS upgrades on everyone else, right?
Yeah, so Windows 10, they say the minimum specs are a 1 gig processor and 2 gigs of RAM if you have a 64-bit machine, 1 gig if it's 32. That seems... That's one of those where it may work, but
don't do it.
I might shoot for a higher number than the minimum.
Definitely. So again, we added a filter. Again, computer OS contains the number 7. And bang, we run this. There it is. There's our Windows 7 machines. At this point, I've got some information, but is there better ways to make it more useful?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. So with this one, absolutely which machines they have to be fixed, whether with a new machine or by upgrading. Now,
the nice thing is you can do multiple groupings here. I'm going to group by processor. And the thing about it is, okay, these are all VMs, guys, so you're going to see they all have the same processor. But the other nice thing is I can also group by the amount of memory. And what this will do is it's going to start breaking down your machine so you can say fairly quickly, this machine has this processor, these processors have these different types of memory, so 2, 4. And you can go at it from that direction.
Absolutely, yes. So, yeah, by the grouping, it really helps you figure out, I guess, what's best to attack first and what can wait until later.
Okay, and speaking of attacking first, right, I like to know who's using the machines.
Yeah.
And the reason being is, if Josh is my boss, I want to know if Josh is using one of these machines, right?
Absolutely.
So we'll close this, and I built another report, which we have used in a previous webcast as the profiles report. And I'm going to open it up, and then I'm going to show you how to get the profiles report. But here it is. I'm opening it up against all computers. Now, I don't want all computers. I just want the Windows 7 machines.
Yep.
So I don't know if you use this, you can go up here to select the collection source, and then we can go after OSs. There it is, OS.
A little bit, yep.
Windows 7, give it an OK, and now there are the people from the profiles report, okay, that used the machines that need to be replaced. So at this point, check it out. Josh using machine Beth. I want to make sure Josh gets a great machine. I'm going to get him done first. He's going to be happy. I should get a big raise. Things like that. Wouldn't you agree, Josh?
I mean, if you're keeping your boss happy, then your life's going to be a lot easier, I think.
Absolutely.
Right?
So,
on the flip side, right?
Yeah, well, in a perfect world, all things are equal. Everyone gets the same machine, but in the real world,
Not so much.
keep the people that control your budget happy.
There you go. And then the other thing is, if someone pisses you off, check it out, Alex Martin. Yeah, he's going to get an OS upgrade. So, anyway, okay, so let me just take you back through now. To get your profiles, that's a WMI query and a WMI scanner. So to do that, you're going to go into Options, Scan Profiles. And again, we did this a couple of weeks ago. This is under Windows or WMI Scanners. Okay, Profiles. I went to SimV2. Okay, I selected the local or loaded local path roaming configuration and last used time from the Win32 user profile. Once you do that, you need to make sure you run that scanner so you can collect the data on your profiles and then build your report and point it at the Windows 7 collection, and there you go. So we've killed 2 birds with 1 stone, so there's 2 of our 5-ish.
All right.
I'm keeping track because we're going to make sure we end up 5 5-ish. So, and that's profiles.
Yeah, that's profiles. So
Yeah.
I guess outside of that, when it comes to when you know you're going to be replacing,
Yeah.
if you know the manufacturer, if you have, say, a whole bunch from any company, you probably have a bit more negotiation.
So like Dell, Lenovo, Microsoft. I mean, what other vendors you know?
I think maybe a big one would be like HP.
There you go.
HP, Dell, Lenovo. I think they're the big OEMs that probably most people are going to be running.
So that information, if you open a machine up and you go take a look at the computer, is that tab? Yeah, there we go. Scale it down, all the stuff I should have done in the pre-show. Shame on me. Okay, right here, guys, system manufacturing model. You guys, we are using VMs here, but you'll notice we got a VMware in the model. So, right.
Just so we can critique my circles.
Wow, that you did fail art, didn't you?
Yes, I did.
So did I. But that's where you find it. So knowing that that's on the computers tab, again, when you decide to build a report on this or you want to build a collection for your manufacturers, you are going to go to define report and you're going to look for, obviously in the computer table, the manufacturer and the model. And again, we're going to run this report and I need to actually go and select all machines because it's a lot easier to see and group. But here's all our machines, and again, I'm going to group by manufacturer, and then I'm going to group by model. And so you'll now see, we tried to do this earlier, but we just had the one processor in memory, but now you'll see if we start breaking this open, we've got Gigabyte Technology, a couple of those, we got Microsoft, some virtual machines there.
And
so
this stuff is really good, like when you call up, we'll say Dell as example, and you know about how many computers you're looking to buy. If it's a good enough number, they're going to really negotiate down some price. It'll save you a lot of money on your budget.
Absolutely, and once again, that means more money for you to get a really cool machine. I mean, what IT person does not love cool machines?
I'm just happy to have one where the mouse works.
Where the mouse works?
Yeah.
Well, hey, JJ, do we have any questions?
Dear Lex and Jordan, if you reimage a computer using the same name, is there any way to have that computer request a scan once it joins the domain, or do you have to wait for the heartbeat? Thanks, Brian G.
Can you kick off a scan from command line? I think you can.
Yeah, I think a good thing to maybe look at is maybe our webcast on fog imaging with
There you go.
deploy. Inventory has the same command line, very similar command line properties there. So you could have it when it comes up, maybe deploy to it and then scan to it after with the PDQ inventory CLI.
Oh, there you go. So you could do that, right? You can also, the MDT video is a good one too. Once you do a deployment, have it run a scan. So just have a default deployment that does a dir and that'll do it.
Yeah,
So
the quick way to see that CLI is just from an elevated command prompt or PowerShell prompt is maybe just, it's a PDQ inventory / ? I think.
Well, let's try it. There it is. And again, for our viewers at home, because I wasn't expecting to do this.
Yeah, so you can use help or / but if you just do PDQ inventory with no arguments, it will pull up the list of available commands.
Scan collections. There it is. Scan computers.
Yeah.
Right
So if you are having that kickoff, say, automatically when it's built, then whatever's running that process is going to have the ability to kick off a scan on
Absolutely.
inventory. So you want to make sure your credentials are correct on that one.
Yeah, it's a command line you can do.
Yep.
Excellent. Okay, so manufacturers, we got that covered, I think. Negotiate, guys, lots of computers, get better pricing. Let's talk about some kind of monitoring stuff, right? I like, here's the thing, I never want a machine to run out of disk space. And, you know, people that, I don't even know if people do Outlook PSTs anymore, but that used to be the bane of existence. Like a PST file would grow, the hard drive would fill up. You know, they save everything that's ever been sent to them in PDF format. So you can pull free drive space. Now, again, I pre-built this because it just takes a little bit of time, but I built a report called low disk space. And as we define this, I'm just looking for computers where the logical disk space is, you know, the percentage free is greater than or less than 25% at this point. I did that because we tested and finally found two in our lab that had less than 25%. Now, this is great. I can run this, and as long as I run it against all my computers right there, okay,
I was gonna say, unless we cleaned up space last night.
yeah, no, thank goodness we didn't. I can run that, but here's the thing, it's not really automated at this point.
No, this is something you just run once, but we do have something called auto reports.
Now, okay, yes, let's talk auto reports. So this report's been built and saved, and then if you go to auto reports, I built an auto report group called Daily, okay? And the report's called Low Disk Space, and this is triggered to run at 1 a.m., okay? Now, the reason I picked 1 a.m. is because if I don't kick off a scan for disk space, it's going to wait the default 7 days or whatever your default is for your regular standard scan that pulls disk, okay? So you're going to get the same report day after day after day after day until the scan changes.
You're going to get a lot of bad data, and so you want to make sure you run a scan to get update the information you're pulling from before you run the report.
Exactly. So at this point, you're going to go into scan profiles, and I built one called Daily Scans, and this runs at 8. I have it run at 8 p.m. So this will scan and run and be done, hopefully, before that report's produced. And all this is doing is running a disk scan.
Okay.
Okay? So it should collect fresh disk data every night. Now,
So we left 5 hours on ours, which is probably more than you need, but it's better be safe than sorry, because if it's not done scanning, you're still going to get bad data. So just, I guess, know your environment and make sure you have it well past that point so you always get the correct data.
now, the other thing you got to decide is how do you want to get notified? Do you want an email? Do you want it on your desktop? I personally don't need another email, so I just have this thing right to the desktop.
As a former Exchange administrator, I can verify that very few people actually read the email.
Yeah. So here we go. The report date, and it's going to write to the desktop. I'm going to kick this off so we can see this is actually going to run. Boom. Now, the one thing about this, I'm doing report and date, and I picked those, the variables basically. It gives you, there it is, low disk space, 10.4. I open that bad boy up, and there it is. Counselor Rick's 23% free, and Rick 21%. If I don't delete this tomorrow, I'm going to get another one, except it's going to have the new date on it, and the next one, and the next one.
You have a kind of a busy desktop at that point.
I always have a busy desktop, but it'll just get way cluttered. There is a way, as long as you do this, you go in here and you say, you know, let's not do report name and date. Let's just do report name at this point, because the date will change and it will not overwrite, and then tell it to overwrite the file. And every day it'll just write that same file, and that will be the disks that you need to take a look. So we've kind of built a little monitoring thing to monitor disk space on our network. Any thoughts, Josh?
The only thing that I want to say on this is when you're doing the file name, you can support variables with dates and things like that. So if you're going to use a date and then try and overwrite the file, you're probably going to be in for a bad time, as you're never actually going to overwrite that because the name's going to be different.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Make sure the file name is static. You don't want any changing variables.
So that's disk space for you.
Yep.
Do we have any more questions?
Dear Lex and Jordan, could there be a report that gets generated when equipment changes? I'm bad at reports. Help me! The lovely Mary M.
Hey, Mary. Now, I guess here's one of the things. Okay, when you say when equipment changes, that's really broad. So, I mean, I just showed you a way you can see when drive space changes, and I guess that's kind of equipment. But let's say you wanted to see if someone popped some memory out, added memory, took a drive out, USB maybe. Josh, what do you think, man?
So that's really kind of a tricky one because inventory doesn't really keep historical data. It's based on the last scan. So since you're not keeping track of historical data, within the application, you're not going to really be able to tell when something changes unless you're running reports all the time, and then you as a human or a script is checking for changes.
Yeah, so unless you're doing something where you're using some sort of query where you're copying that data and then you compare the changes, which doesn't seem like you'd be getting consistent great results with that unless you're far better at that stuff than I am.
Yeah, or something even like a failed scan may even give you some bad data at that point as well.
Yeah, so it's something, and I don't think we have plans to keep historical data, so it's difficult on
I mean,
our side.
I guess, I don't know, I don't imagine hardware changes that much. I mean, I would hope it doesn't. But, if you run it once a month and then, Linux guy, you'd run a diff. I don't know, what would you do in Windows to compare two different, like, text files or CSV files? I'm sure there's
diff applications.
there's a
but
diff
there's
application
nothing
out
built
there,
in.
but
Yeah.
you could do that. But again, it's going to be a manual process where you're going to have to eyeball it. So, what else has been happening in the last year or so that might be something you would look or need to?
Well, something that I don't think happens most places is very often is like BIOS updates. Like exploits are found that involve the BIOS. You want to make sure that you're getting all those machines updated past the exploit.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. So being able to pull your BIOS information. Again, it's all here in the computer. Let's just build a report looking for BIOS information. New report, basic
Yep.
reports.
So we're just gonna.
You're gonna do it like me,
come in
huh? You're gonna
first,
build it and never name it.
Well, probably. Probably. So for the columns, if you is just the data you want to see, would be
You want to grab the computer table.
computer table. Thank
Yeah.
you. I was looking right for BIOS. Alphabetical. That's how it
A, B,
works.
C.
Alphabet's hard.
Math's hard. The alphabet's hard. And
Just
then
one more. So then we're going to go. We're grabbing the manufacturer and the BIOS.
The BIOS
number.
version?
Yeah, version.
Yeah, and while you're building this, something to call out when we're looking at this report, and we're going to see it here in a minute, is a lot of BIOSes are alphanumeric on the version.
oh, that's right. So making
So-
your version comparisons.
Yeah, making your version comparison might be kind of hard. You might actually have to look at regex. As scary as it is, you might actually have to use it.
So on this one, I didn't bother any filter. Just basically it grabs every machine. I'm just more worried about the column, so I can see the BIOS for all
Yeah,
computers.
absolutely. Yeah,
If
and
you're looking to fine tune it from there, you do have to be careful on what the BIOS is.
Group it again. Group it by manufacturer, and then group it by BIOS version. So at least you can see the different versions you may have. And again,
And it's just right-click
multiple
on the
groupings on
column.
these reports. It's amazing. So, like American Megatrends, I like that one. BIOS manufacturer, nobody. Santa's helper. Well, apparently it is magic that machine.
Yes, if American Megatrends, and then you have ones with 09007 is that one. So if there was a known issue with that one, it's going to be published, and you know which ones you have to take care of pretty quick.
Well, okay, and that's nice. So American Megatrends has now broken it down to the different BIOSes for us. So again, you notice this, you see it, build yourself a dynamic collection and work with it at that point.
Absolutely.
In fact, if there were filters on this, you could actually just convert it. But this is just everything that's out there. So that's BIOS versions. What about software audits? Yeah, I mean, we talked a lot about hardware. Let's just jump in. Software can be difficult to audit depending on what you're looking for. Now, we can do counts. We can do counts. I'm stuck at counts, guys. We can do counts of these, but to pull the product keys or the license keys, that can be very difficult. We have found a way to pull partial keys for you. Josh built this one a couple of weeks
and
ago.
just to clarify, we're talking about Windows licensing here.
Windows
We're not talking
licensing,
about application
Thank
licensing.
you.
You might be able to grab that in WMI.
I mean, I imagine most shops, they've changed the way they've been purchasing hardware, so you might have a combination of all kinds of ways that you've got your licensing, which makes
Absolutely.
it difficult when it's time to true up.
Absolutely. Well, let's just talk Windows OS licensing right now. You can do OEM licensing. You've got MAK. What does that stand
Yeah,
for?
it's a multiple activation key, and those are counts. So those are cumulative counts.
Okay, and then you've got
KMS,
which is your
which you can arm a server, and then your machines activate against it.
against it. And we built, and when I say we, Josh, because it's awesome.
Yeah,
Thank you.
there's been a couple questions in the chat. Can we fire up the WMI Explorer there and just kind of show people that that's how we're building these reports?
Absolutely. I'm going to do this to copy it because I'm telling you right now, I won't remember. But WMI Explorer, okay, and cheat sheet, SimV2. So we're going to connect. This information exists in SimV2 from software licensed product. All right, so we go to SimV2 software licensed product. So we're going to scroll down to Alphabet is hard again.
Yeah, so just
Can you type in software right there?
just so
There it
when you
is.
do see these complex reports, it's most likely it's not something we just typed off on the top of our head. We have to
Do
dive
some
in with an
research on
explorer.
Yeah, somebody at some point went in there and looked for it.
So we'll just grab this. I'm gonna execute this against if I actually did this correctly, it's gonna pull a lot of information, and a ton of it. In fact, it's running right now. We ended up finding out we were looking for specifics, and I will actually put that query in here right now. We'll run it because this one's going to continue to run. But couple of things you need to note, and let's just bounce back to the query if I can get that to pop back up.
All right, do we have a question while we're waiting for that to pop
Yeah,
up?
let's do a question while it's running. Thank you.
Dear Lex and Jordan, do you have any generic or basic reporting built into inventory? I currently have dynamic collections for servers with less than 5 gig and 10 gig of space, along with servers missing our preferred antivirus. Thanks, Michael L.
So as far as built-in, we have a lot of collections that come built with it, but we also do have some reports that come with the product. I don't know if anything specific is looking for antivirus, just because there's a lot of those out there. We can't really, fine-tune it from that
That's
one.
a good point. Josh, what are your thoughts?
So something, you probably already have collections set up to look for these things. You can build a report off of a collection. So that those filters are already there, and then just add the columns you want. So I don't know if you guys can show that up there where you're in control.
Once again, I did this earlier. So if you've already got the collection built, you pick your report. We're just going to go look at, I did profiles, and then I pointed it at the Windows 7 collection or Office or whatever collection is you want.
I think
And
Josh
that's
is
gonna
saying
filter- is that-
basically the opposite of this. I think he said you could build a report based off of the collection.
Oh, build one, go
Yep,
the other
yep,
direction.
that's where I was coming
Copy
from
the
there.
filters over. That is
Yep.
a good point.
Yep. And
So-
it's been a while since I've done this one, so I don't know if Josh wants to help me out.
Go up to new,
There we go.
report
There,
from
yeah,
collection.
you found it.
And from there, so it
Oh, you hit the
does.
wrong one,
I
brother.
did PowerShell, which is that was a bad example.
Let's reboot required machines. That's a good one.
Okay.
Right click on that guy, new,
New and
and then a
basic
report from
report.
collection.
Oh, report
You
from
missed it.
collection.
One
again.
down.
One
Third
more,
time's the charm.
One more. Here
All
we go.
right, here we go.
New.
This is where we're talking about why I don't go back and watch the videos.
And then you'll notice the
Then-
filters got pulled across.
Yep.
Thanks, Josh.
Change your
I was
Absolutely.
just running
Yep.
the other direction there. So,
All right.
again, if you've got them already built, port them over, and then all you've got to do is collect or put the data, the columns you want to see in there. So, back to the WMI scanner on software licensing. Wrong one. I now have the I can't click on the right line
All
problem.
right.
So
Pages.
we're getting description, product key, license family, product channel, software license from the software licensing product where the product key channel is not null. If you don't run it with the not null, you're going to get tons of data that is useless. Okay, once again, you're going to want to save this, and then you're going to want to go and run this against any of your or all your machines, right? So you're going to go up, right click, scan collection. In this case, it's part of the WMI scanners group. Kick that off. I did that just before the show. And then you can build a report based off that information. Basic report. We're going to go computer. We're going to go down to our WMI licensing, software licensing. We're going to do description, license family, partial product key. This is a nice thing. Why is partial product key so good?
So for me, the way I would use partial product key is to look, maybe I have multiple MAC keys for Windows 7, Windows 8.1, something like that. This is a quick way for me to differentiate which MAC key I used on which machine.
Okay, and here's the information you get back. You'll notice right here, volume MAK, GLVK, that's our volume licensing, and I think somewhere around here, maybe, possibly, we have no OEM, which works out, but you also see the OEM in there.
So this one will work on Windows 8 to 10. The problem is Windows 7 doesn't have the WMI table where we use the not null that we used to specify down to a single one.
Okay,
So
so
on Windows 7, if you run that, you're just going to get basically, I think
this is
a table
incomplete
doesn't
information at
exist,
this
or-
point.
Yeah.
Okay, so how do we go about collecting our Windows 7 stuff?
All right. So I did one with I used basically PowerShell to run a built-in tool. So let me go through and find it real quick. And it's just get license type. So basically, it's running the built-in tool, the slmgr.vbs. Which,
Okay.
Yeah, which normally runs as a W script, which is window that you can't use anything with. So we're running it as a C script, which is basically command line where we just get the output. And then after that, we just use regex to find the key we're looking for. And with that one, that will run back to 7 won't run on Vista. So if you still have Vista, you're kind of out of luck on that.
Shame
one.
on you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So and this one I have as a tool on inventory, but you also can just set it up as a package.
Okay. So to set up a package, just copying that.
You just have a copy of the PowerShell script.
New package.
New package, I'll name it so Lex doesn't tease me anymore.
Hey, the only reason I do that is because I never name it. My man's like, oh crap, I got to go back and read this again. But so you're just going to add the PowerShell step in this, and then this script will run against Windows, any of them.
Yep.
Windows 7, Windows, short of.
Yeah, so what we're doing with this one is it's going through, it's finding out what type of license you have, whether it's KMS, MAK, or OEM, and then it's creating a registry value. If you're not comfortable with create a registry value, you could also have it build a file somewhere, obscure, and then...
So right here, we're creating a registry value called HKLM software type, and then we're putting the type as OEM.
OEM KMS client or...
So we didn't
MAK.
run this on a machine?
We haven't yet. Actually, we're going to
we're
build a package and run it live because we're brave.
So here comes the troubleshooting portion of today's webcast. You're just going to launch it on out there, are you?
Yeah.
In the famous words of Bill O'Reilly, we'll do it live!
All right. Okay, it's Jordan doing PowerShell. It's got to work. I'm with you, bro.
That's not true. So before I do all of them, which one?
Let's not mess with
which one do I-
Bobs.
The Bobs. Yeah.
Let's not mess with either the Bobs. Anything that... Scroll down.
Yep.
I think Rick Sanchez
Get rid of
got taken out.
microverse.
Yeah,
1
microverse.
and 2. Get in the Rick Sanchez. Don't make...
Okay, but there's -1, -2, but
Yeah,
those ones are fine.
don't mess with
Don't
JJ
mess with
stuff.
those.
He'll
Okay,
come in
don't
and
mess with
punch
This
you right in the
webcast
face.
may end if you...
Okay, so we're not
And then the microverse.
microverse. Okay.
I love this.
Yeah,
This is
that'll,
live.
That'll shut down your own machine.
Yep. Oh,
All right.
There we
I really
go.
don't
I
want.
think we're good at this point. There may be a few that don't want to play, but
All right, so we see. So while that's running, that just that basically it builds registry key. We do have to build a
Scanner.
that looks for the registry,
That's right.
as well as basically a collection.
Well,
to
that's running. Let's
fine-tune
build a
it.
scanner. I'm drinking to the fact this one's going to work.
All right.
Josh, cross your fingers with me, buddy.
I'm crossing my fingers because I'm out over here to drink.
Okay.
So this is a scanner I built earlier, just license type, and all it's doing is a registry scan.
Let's pop it open real quick and just talk about the... Okay, so it's an HQ local machine, which is we picked the Hive.
Yep.
You wrote it in software type, and then we're grabbing any of the information that would be written under type with the double splat. Is there a reason we use double splat instead of a single splat?
I
Josh?
remember when we were building it yesterday, and then someone explained to me why we had to, and the only part that I took away from is use the double splat.
'Cause
Maybe
there's-
someone can answer in the
grab
chat a
your
little
data.
better.
Yeah.
Subkeys.
From experience,
Yeah.
the double splat worked. The single one did not.
We were stumped yesterday, but this did work. So
We might be doing a deeper dive into
Deeper
the,
dive.
yes.
the structure.
All right. So boom.
So yeah, let's make sure the deploy's done before we run that scan.
What,
But
you want-
it's all very simple.
It should be pretty quick.
One. Yeah.
Successful.
It's successful on 23 of them. That's
24. Nice.
That's far
That's
enough
enough.
along for me.
Let's do it. That's success for us. Some of them hit.
Yep.
Right click.
That's because
There
that
you
scan
go.
profile's
You
open.
do. All right.
Close that. All right, so we're just going to scan those machines with the scan that we built.
License type.
And
And
this-
then you did build, and while this is scanning, we're just going to go quick down and show you Jordan built license type and broke down from this scan.
Yeah, so based on what the result of the key is, if it's KMS, MAK, OEM, or undefined. For us, we don't have any OEM tests, so if you are going to use a version of this, you want to run one individually and see what the output for OEM is
Verify.
first to make sure that I have the right one. I think I do, but I don't have anything.
I
to
think it's
test.
pretty close. I mean, if not, so there you go. Now we know, and the reason that I think that's important is like, if you got volume license or MAK or OEM, you can start doing counts and know what do I need to buy for next year when I start doing my upgrades.
Yeah, true ups are never an easy process. Anything you can do to make that easier.
Absolutely. Any thoughts on true ups and licensing, Josh?
The only thing I can think of is if you got your counts, your life's going to be a whole lot easier if Microsoft comes knocking.
Yes, sir. That is true.
All right, so it's
So are we doing
speed round?
the speed round?
All right.
Uh-oh,
let's
I'm
see.
scared now.
All right, boys and girls, time for the speed round. Dear Lex and Jordan, does inventory obtain any kind of manufacturer build date? We use Dell. I'd love to have a simple report to argue for a tech refresh to show that our equipment is older than my tenure here. Thanks, Kathleen F.
So A couple of things you could look at, depending on how your machines were set up. If they are from Dell and the OS is on there, Josh, can you pull OS installation date?
You can pull OS installation date, but maybe what you're getting at is maybe you wanted to look at the service tag, specifically with Dell. They do have an API that you can dump all that out from inventory and then query it, and you can see purchase date off of that because your OS installation date may be different than the purchase date. Because if you're reimaging your machines, then that OS date's going to change all the time.
That is a very good point.
See, Chris is saying Dell has information in the BIOS, which can be accessible through the WMI.
Okay.
Oh, thanks, Chris.
And so for the one we're using their service tag, also that will give you if it's still under warranty or not, which may be a better tool to get
out of warranty.
Absolutely.
Get a new one. Absolutely. What else we got?
Dear Lex and Jordan, is there a way to collect and report the serial numbers of attached monitors to a computer? I assume WMI, but not sure how I would do that. Thanks, Kyle C.
Now, serial numbers. I know we built a WMI query that did pull information in regards to that, but serial numbers, I'm not so sure. WMI scanner, licensing.
I'm not sure.
It's not there.
Guys, I think I helped somebody in the support queue with this, so this might be a better one to have a discussion with offline.
That's okay.
Because it really actually came down to depending on the monitor model and if they were actually writing to WMI or not.
Oh, okay. So I get the big answer there is it depends.
Yeah, absolutely. It's
Chris
a big
on that one
if, maybe.
said that, based on the monitors, some manufacturers don't always format their serials correctly.
Manufacturer dependent.
And some of them it would cut off after like 15 characters and the serial number was 32.
Oh, wow. Okay. So there are ways to find out how many monitors, what type of monitors, serial number, a little questionable maybe. Depends. I'm sticking to that answer. Maybe.
And our final speed round question, could you run a report that gathers when I shut down computers at night or reboots? Bob, same name, forward or backward, S.
Hey, Bob.
So if I'm understanding, you want a report that runs when you shut down or
Reboots.
So
I'm thinking you could run the computer info scan, and that's going to pull uptime. And from uptime, you can calculate at least when it was rebooted. But you'd have to run that on a fairly regular basis. Like put that on your daily scan, I guess. That's one way to go about it.
I mean, if it's shut down, you can't scan it. But you could also do it based on heartbeat, where when it comes back up, when it checks back in at that point, but then it would have to be off long enough for it to register
That's a good point.
as offline, and then
I just wish you guys could see Josh's face. How he's like,
The only thing I'm thinking is based on the uptime and then some math.
just
CSV,
math
some
on
math.
uptime. Yeah, that's probably it. But yeah, you would have to be fairly aggressive on that scan because, once every 7 days you can pull computer information, and then I reboot my machine day number 2. You're not going to know it until.
Yeah.
So you could add that to your daily scans, like I showed you earlier. So guys, hopefully we took something that you already know how to do and gave you a few more tools to make it a little cooler, give you a little more insight into things. Hopefully make it so you can negotiate some better pricing with your manufacturers.
when it comes to budgeting, the more data you have, the more you have at your hands to get what you're looking for. You want to get as much money as you can to make sure you can do the proper rollout.
And if you can do the OS upgrades as opposed to hardware, but still keep the hardware, that means you are going to have an awesome computer. So,
Absolutely.
Thanks for watching, guys. I'm Lex.
I'm Jordan.
Catch y'all later.
Thanks for joining our webcast today. Congratulations, Brian G. and Michael L., winners of PDQ swag. Send us your info at webcast@pdq.com. Don't forget, if you have any further questions, feel free to reach out to our support forums. That's why they are there. Thanks again, and we will see you back here next week.